Alright, good evening. Please give me a shout out in chat if you can hear me okay. How is everyone's weekend been going? I hope it's been going well. We are here obviously for the Army List show. This show goes out every Sunday. You can get your Army List reviewed by myself. Obviously chapter approved just dropped this week. So, I mean, maybe that makes things a little bit more tricky. But nonetheless, for some reason things just aren't working tonight. It happens. So by tea. Okay. Yeah, okay, Okay, here we go. Right. There, finally found my image. So, we're going live today. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Yeah, we got 3 lists to look at, and the show goes out every Sunday evening now. We're looking at Highland Phoenix, we're looking at Cyborg, we're looking at Sods, and yeah, I mean, I kind of think I know what's happened with chapter approved. So, I guess if there is any questions on points cost for chapter approved, I'm happy to take them in the chat. Like I said, I think we discussed quite a bit of it on the live stream last night. I think we know what's changed. I think I'm going to run a list tomorrow that uses chapter approved points costs. And I think I'm going to take a land speeder. I found another land speeder that I have still in the sprue here, which I think I need to get made because bikes... I've had this box for about 5 years. Bikes don't do engage on all fronts anymore, so as much as I like my attack bikes, I think I'm going to have to run land speeders. And as much as I like Redemptor Dreadnoughts, I think I'm going to stop running them as well and run like what I was doing last night on stream, like maybe a Venerable Dreadnought, Chicken Dreadnought. So my list this week's going to be a bit different, but let's dive in and look at people's lists. And see what people are saying. Good evening, 2 Scoops, Highland Phoenix, James, Camille, Eric, DTM. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Nice to see you all as normal. Actrail as well. Yeah, so sick. Alright, so this is a Death Company Dreadnoughts. Oh, I wish Death Company Dreadnoughts had core. You know that? I think because they don't have core, I think I prefer the Ironclad. But I mean, I think it's 6.5 a dozen, I guess. I really wish Death Company Dreadnoughts had core. And also, the Magna Grapple right now, the rules make no sense. Magna Grapple last edition was really good, now I just think they're shit. Landspeeders give an 18-inch fly and a +1 to hit for the Whirlwind. Yeah, please remind me in chat tomorrow that I need to remember the Landspeeder giving the Whirlwind +1 to hit, because I am totally going to forget that. How do you submit a list? Good question. I should have probably said that at the start of the stream. Open up your internet browser. Just go to Blood Angels Commander YouTube channel. So you just search like YouTube BA Commander. You'll end up, if you actually click the channel here, you end up on the channel page and click community. And in the latest community post here, which was a link to get Element Games chapter approved, just click comment here and put your army list right here. And whatever community post is the newest when you come to the page, that's the community post I want you to put it in, because that's the easiest way for me to find it, right? So, okay, let's talk about a random submission from Highland Phoenix to start with. I think I've spelt your name wrong. I've put a T in the middle of it. Highland Phoenix. But that's fine. Highland Phoenix. Alright, so this is a version 10.2 of his list. It's 197 points, and we're starting with 6 CP. And I'm actually going to turn off my light that's pointing at me today. I have a little bit of a headache. I don't know if that's going to make a huge bit of difference. If you really need me to turn it back on, I can, but I don't think it's... I think I look okay. I don't have this giant light shining in my face. Okay. Calixtus Assassin with the Spectrum and the Psych Out Grenade. So I'm using the Calixtus Assassin now. I used it this week. Obviously, you can pay 2 CP to switch out the Assassin for another one at the start of the game. But yeah, I mean, the Calixtus Assassin is fine. I think it's actually kind of useful because you can only be hit on 6s. How do I feel about the Hammer Strike now? It's only 145 points. I think I'm going to have to do videos on those pieces of armor and gladiators and storm speeders now that they've dropped points. And I think that's probably the stuff that I'm going to be covering over the next few weeks on the channel, Josh. So I don't know if I want to specifically get into units right now. I'd rather do it. Grim Guardsman, thank you so much for becoming a member. I'd rather do deeper dives into individual units. Once I actually have the points costs in front of me on paper, so like I'm not making mistakes, because I've not actually definitively seen chapter approved. I've just read about leaks online. I haven't actually got the points costs from the book. If someone has the points costs from the book and they can send them to me in Discord, that would be super appreciated. But as it stands, I still don't actually have them. But yeah, so Grim, if you submit a list, then you can get priority queue. I think at the moment, if you submit a list today, I'd probably do it next week, because I don't think there's that many. Oh, maybe I've got 2 members next week, so it would be the week after, but just a couple of weeks away, which is fine, because I guess everything's going to change next week anyway. We then have a captain on a bike, Infernal Pistol, Thunderhammer. He's a chapter master, Angel's Exemplar, Gift of Foresight, Artisan of War, Angel's Artifice and Adamantium Mantle, so great captain on a bike, I really like him. Chaplain with a jump pack, Inferno Pistol and Crozius, he has Rites of War and Icon of the Angel, and of course he has Canticle of Hate, so 7-inch rerollable charges from the Chaplain. I mean, that's nice as well. And then the Sanguinary Priest with Soul Warden and Teeth of Terra. I think I would probably put Soul Warden on something else, like the Chaplain maybe. I mean, because the Sanguinary Priest is giving you a 6-up shrug against everything. Soul Warden's making it a 5-up shrug against mortals. I mean, would it be better to just give... I guess you can't give it to the Chaplain though, because he's already got Rites of War. Unless you did it the other way around. I just think you're basically... Overlapping bubbles like that is probably less value than like 2 characters both having bubbles, in case you have to split up Highland Phoenix. Unless there's a real clear reason to do it that way, I would probably do it the other way around. I'm not a fan of the new speeders. Degrading profiles on hypermobile units is just begging to get profiled. Yeah, and I mean, that's why the regular speeders tend to be more interesting, because the enemy has to split fire and there's no degrading profiles, and they can be reserved easily and they can score you engage on all fronts. Auspic Tactics got the real ones. You can also find them in random videos, but it's blurry as fuck. Yeah, so is the video on Auspic's Tactics channel, are they blurry or are they correct? Because the ones that I found were all blurry. I should also point out, if my daughter, who's sleeping in another room, wakes up today, I just need to disappear for like 1 minute to move her from the bedroom that she's in to my wife's bedroom. So just in case you see me run away, I will be back in just like 1 minute. However long it takes to carry my daughter across the stairs. We then have Sanguinary Guard, 6 guard, 1 Infernal Pistol, 1 Power Fist, 5 Encarmite Swords, 5 Axes and Bolt Guns. Okay, I'm good with this. 5 Veterans, Lightning Claws, Storm Shields, Infernal Pistol, and the Sergeant. Again, I'm good with this. Relic Terminators, Storm Shields, Chain Fists, and Lightning Claws. Similar to the Terminator squad I ran at the tournament. I like them. I like them more in terms of their damage output, but I don't like that they don't have a Teleport Homer. I think that's the one thing I don't like about the Relic Terminators. I think that Teleport Homer, although you're not going to use it in every game, sometimes it can be really, really valuable. And then Death Company, 7 Death Company, 7 Jump Packs, 3 Thunderhammers, 4 Bolters and Chainswords. So I guess that saves you 14 points here. Are we thinking Land Raiders will now come into play for Engage? I am. I mean, because of Volcons going up, Ager, I had already last week, I sidelined both my Contemptors, because I figured that Volcons were going up in points, and double Contemptors with double Volcons is going up 40 points, and like, to me, that's... I already think they're not powerful in certain situations, so going up 40 points is way too much for me to consider using them. So last week I actually went back to my strategy where I used attack bikes and reserves, because attack bikes are great for coming in reserves, getting pot shots off with multi-meltas, and also scoring engage on all fronts. However, attack bikes now will not score engage on all fronts because they don't have the vehicle keyword, so you're basically going to pay 10 points more to do that, I think, with land speeders, and we'll see. I'm going to include a land speeder tomorrow. It's not going to be painted, because I don't have any painted land speeders. I've never found them that useful. But I'm going to include a land speeder tomorrow. I got one over there that I might build. I might get a third one. We'll see. I think my list before was running 2 attack bikes, 120 points. Now I'm probably going to run 2 land speeders with multi-metas, 140 points, and I'll figure out where I can save some points. Every friggin' stream, someone's in here spamming links. Like, how is there so many bots on YouTube? Like, and also, why does YouTube even let them spam links? Whatever. Okay. So, elite-wise, Sanguinary Guard, Vanguard Veterans, Relic Terminators, Death Company. 4, I guess, strong infantry-based lists, which make infantry-based squads, which makes sense because you've got the Sanguinary Priest. Infiltrators and Cursors, heavy intercessors. Wow, we don't see heavy intercessors very often. Heavy bolt rifles. Angel's Ascendant, so they have Quake bolts. Okay, I mean, have you got a Whirlwind here? Yeah, you've got a Whirlwind. I'm not sure about heavy intercessors. I did some maths on them. Like, I'm sure you've seen my video, Highland Phoenix. I think the video was called something like... Do you know what? I can probably bring it up if you give me a second. I did a video on troops. You watch a lot of my videos. You comment on just about every one. I'm sure that you would have watched the one. Yeah, so there's this video I did on troop damage comparison. And so you've got heavy intercessors. Infiltrators are super defensive, super useful. Incursors are great offensive units. Where was the damage output? Was it this one? Range damage output, right. So heavy... Oh, I guess I didn't include... Oh no, I did heavy intercessors, I did them. And you've got them with which gun? The heavy bolt rifles and a heavy bolter. So heavy bolt rifles... I mean, their damage is poor. I mean, 36-inch range is nice, but like overall the damage is pretty poor. I mean, I guess if you compare them to like Incursors, you're doing like less than a point worth more of damage against target. You know, yeah, like you're doing less. You're paying 45 points more. And shooting wise, you're doing less than 1 point of damage. So the second that close combat comes around, you just get totally eclipsed by the Incursors, I guess. So if you ever get into close... So heavy intercessors, I guess, don't make a whole heap of sense to me. I guess they're a survivable unit. You don't have to pay too many stratagems on because they're toughness 5 and they can get 2-up save and cover and they can just sit there and snipe, but... they don't do a whole lot of damage. What's the thought behind them? You said the troop selection is for the new 2022 missions. Like, what's the thought behind the heavy intercessors? Sure, okay, and you've got a heavy bolter, but I mean, there's a lot cheaper ways to get a heavy bolter, right? Evening Mega Miniatures, evening Jeff, how you guys doing? We then have a land speeder Storm with a Cerberus launcher and the heavy bolter. We then have attack bike, and then we have the Castellan launcher. So I guess right before the changes to engage on all fronts, I think this is fine, but with the change to engage on all fronts now, I guess like you'd probably be better off if these were land speeders. You run two regular land speeders and find some way to spend the 40 points elsewhere, or make these guys Incursors, run 2 Incursors, 1 Infiltrators, and run 3 land speeders. I mean, that would... 3 land speeders with multi-metas, I think, is possibly... is possibly something that I would prefer here, but it's all to be decided. Alright, so originally instead of the 3 attack bikes, I had a bike squad with 4 bikes and an attack bike with multi-meta for more ablative wounds, a distraction card effects, and the potential for actions, but I felt a little short on initial firepower, and there's enough units for actions elsewhere. Slightly more points stacked up in the troops this time, but instead of looking at them as attacks, I want them to step up and do more and survive doing it. Squeezing the Landspeeder Storm to grab forward objectives, or muck up plans with shock and awe. After the last game, I have now squeezed in the Calixis for Anti-Psyker, but up to 4 characters now, unfortunately. Everything else speaks for itself. I have Canticle and Icon for Mass Deep Strike if required. Turn 1, Heroic lay hide and push forward. If not in concealed positions, turn 2, tactically move out, clear screens and drop in, and if not waiting, turn 3, Blood Angel swing. Good evening, Cyborg. Your list is up next. You know, if you want your troops to do more, I'd probably just take like 3 squads of incursors over the heavy intercessors. I don't know if I feel heavy intercessors are worth it. I've got a set of them. I used them once and they were okay. Right at the beginning of 9th edition, like before I was even doing the Blood Angels Commander channel, so it must have been like 18 months ago I tried heavy intercessors. I've got a squad of them, but I feel like they're very expensive, and I think that, like, we know we're stronger in melee. We're always stronger in melee, so having that extra -1 AP from the incursors in melee is kind of huge. It's big in turn 1s and 2, it's even bigger in turn 3 onwards when it becomes, like, basic incursors have -2 AP. That's why I take incursors now personally over infiltrators, just because infiltrators to me feel like they screen well, but they don't do any damage throughout the entire game. Whereas incursors can do damage if required. And you said that you want to make your troops do more, then incursors are the troop choice that do more, in my opinion. That video that I did on the comparison of troops showed that auto bolt rifled intercessors are kind of meh. The best troop choices are incursors or assault intercessors for us. The problem with assault intercessors is they're very hard to play unless you're going to reserve them, because if they're foot slugging across the board, they're just getting killed. Quartermaster Krychek likes the heavies. The toughness 5 goes a long way in my meta. Fair enough. I mean, toughness 5 and 3 wounds isn't bad, I guess. You know, 5 more wounds and an extra toughness for about 45 points. Do you know what? I wish I hadn't closed that slide. Let me bring that slide back up. What did I think was the best weapon, or what is the best weapon for the heavy intercessors? I guess the heavy bolt rifles are reasonably decent. I guess the rapid fire one, so I guess you would get more shots if you stay still, which potentially makes them a little bit better. Oh, right. I mean, okay, they're not terrible. But I mean, 150 point squad that's going to kill 2 Marines in a round of shooting when they stand still in rapid fire isn't amazing, right? Like, I think. No, it's a tough one. Okay. I saw one player representing Blood Angels at Nottingham GT this year. Looked like a fun list with a lot of Death Company and Sanguinary Guard. That's probably Gitley. I think he's a member of the channel. He was here in last night's stream. 36-inch Quake bolts to add to my Forlorn Fury charge. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, the Quake bolts probably is worth taking. Yeah, so I mean, you're right. 4 characters is kind of questionable. It's a lot of points in characters, I guess. It doesn't say how many points the Sanguinary Priest is here. Oh, 120. You don't have them upgraded to Chief Librarian. Okay, so 165, 275. So about 500 points in characters. It's about 100 points more characters than I would like. I think the single attack bikes are going to be weaker now. Like I said, I was literally trawling through my cupboard earlier to see if I can find some magnets so that I can magnetize that land speeder, because I think we're gonna have to move to land speeders if you want to use fast moving things to take board quadrants. It's gonna have to be land speeders over attack bikes. What do you get? You get like a bit more. You get 1 more toughness. You get 2 more wounds, but you lose the storm bolter, I guess, or the twin bolt gun. Twin bolt gun typically doesn't do any damage anyway, does it? Like if you take a wound off something with a twin bolt gun, you're lucky. So having a land speeder with a multi-melta for 10 points more, I guess, isn't the end of the world. It's just annoying if you've already bought and painted attack bikes now. So I would. If this was me, I would swap all 3 of these out for 2 land speeders. I don't know what you would do with the rest of your points. Make your Death Company bigger, because you're already going to have to pay 2 CP for your You'd have to pay 2 CP. Oh, well, you're going to get 14 points back on this Death Company as well. But yeah, you're going to have to pay 2 CP anyway for them because they're more than 5 guys for your Forlorn Fury. So you could add to your Death Company. I don't like playing one squad of Sanguinary Guard anymore. What about the Storm Speeders? We're gonna have to do a video on the Storm Speeders against regular Land Speeders. And I think for the most part, my opinion right now is that regular Land Speeders are going to be better. Like really quick off the top of my head, a Land Speeder. Oh, it needs a space. A Land Speeder is going to be 70 points with a multi-melta, toughness 6, 6 wounds, 3 up save. If you're within 18 inches of an enemy unit, your Whirlwind gets +1 to hit, and I run a Whirlwind, so there's a kind of like a nice little synergy there. It's not really game breaking, or it's not really that strong, but it is a nice little synergy you just get for free. I can't remember the 3 of these, and I guess the points cost here are all going down like 15. So the cheapest one would be this one, maybe for 120. So you don't quite get double the wounds. You do get some. There's a Melta one somewhere, right? The Melta Destroyer. So if you went for this one and it's 140 points, it literally costs twice as much as the Land Speeders, right? You can run 2 Land Speeders, so that's essentially 12 wounds. So that's more wounds. The Land Speeders also don't get profiled, so that if the enemy leaves them on 1 wound, they still hit on 3s. They still move their full distance. And also something else. Yeah, the enemy's likely to lose firepower here, right? If the hammer strikes down at 140, like, it's not bad. Heavy, it's not, you know, the missile launcher's kind of nice, the flat 3 damage. I mean, they're not bad. We're going to have to figure it out. Just, I think, in terms of, like, if you're trying to score points in a game and you need multiple units in multiple quadrants, it's going to be so much easier to do with 2 fast, like, 18-inch moving Land Speeders that never get profiled, as opposed to 1 hammer strike, right? And also reserving the hammer strike is going to be nigh impossible because it's 9 power level. Reserving a Land Speeder is 3 power level. So technically you could reserve 3 Land Speeders for 1 CP, and just bring one in turn 2 and a couple in turn 3, and almost guarantee like really good engage on all front scores. And obviously when you bring them in, you get to shoot the meltas before the enemy gets to fire at you, whereas with a hammer strike probably starting on the board, potentially the enemy shoot it before you even get to move it or shoot it or whatever if you can't obscure it. So lots of questions there. I like those. I mean, I like how those new models look, the Storm Speeders and stuff, but like, I've just never seen a reason to buy them. And as a stand now, I'm probably going to buy another regular Land Speeder as opposed to buy a Storm Speeder Hammer Strike. So I've just got a couple of Land Speeders to figure out what I'm doing with them, honestly. Okay. Compare the Hammer Strike since it has Melta weapons. Yeah, I mean, the firepower of the Hammer Strike seems decent if it's gone down those many points. I'm gonna have to buy one, aren't I? I think where the BAs are currently in the meta is having more Land Speeders over the Storm Speeders makes sense. Yeah, I think so too. It's a little sad because we were having this big debate last night about like they want to sell Primaris models, so they haven't fixed the points cost for a bunch of Firstborn stuff that's not very good, but at the same time, like, the Primaris models they're trying to sell are also not very good, so it just doesn't make a whole heap of sense. Assault Intercessors and Land Speeder in reserve for 1 CP. I mean, that's how I do it with the attack bikes previously. I had Assault Intercessors and 2 single attack bikes in reserve for 1 CP. So you can now probably what I'll be doing in my army list is Assault Intercessors and a Land Speeder in reserve for 1 CP. I gotta go. I'll be right back. 1 minute. Alright, cool. Sorry, I had to move my daughter. She woke up. It's quite funny, she's just standing in the middle of the room in the pitch black, because the camera we have is like a night vision camera. So she's just like, one time I went through, she's just standing on her bed in the pitch black. Like, it's quite a small bed, it's just quite a funny picture to see her just standing there. Like, I woke up and what do? I just stand upright. Why not Landspeeder Storm like recent Blood Angels tournament list reviews? I mean, Landspeeder Storms are good as well. Highland Phoenix has got one in this list. They're a little bit cheaper, are they, the Landspeeder Storms? They're dedicated transports as well, so I mean, I guess they don't... Yeah, I mean, you can do it with Landspeeder Storms as well. They're toughness 7 wounds, but they have a worse save. So regular Landspeeders have a 3-up, the Storms have 1 more wound but a 4-up. But yeah, you could do it with Storms as well. Flesh Terror Codex when, says Nick. Flesh Terrors have been they've been neglected as much as Blood Angels could possibly have been neglected in 9th edition. It's a tough one. Landspeeder or the Tornado one. I think you just want the regular cheap Landspeeder. I think you want to do it as cheap as you possibly can. I mean, if you've got a Tornado, if you've got the points for it to get an extra assault cannon, but I mean, when you actually break it down, I think that the Tornado is going to cost you what's the difference? Like, you pay 10 points for the multi-melta, you pay 5 points for the assault cannon. So you pay 90 points, so you end up basically paying, what, 20 points for an assault cannon? Like, is that it? Is that right? Because if you told me that you have to pay 20 points for assault cannon, I'd just be like, yeah, that's the most expensive assault cannon ever. Like, why would you pay 20 points for an assault cannon? And you lose some movement as well. You lose 2 inches of movement. You have a slightly different base size for whatever reason. And you don't get the synergy with the Whirlwind. And I use the Whirlwind, so getting the +1 to hit on the Whirlwind is going to basically... Getting the +1 to hit for the Whirlwind is going to be nice, because the amount of times I miss with a bunch of shots on the Whirlwind. Alright, so Highland, 4 characters, a little bit weaker on that. Sanguinary Guard is fine, but I feel like one squad, you put too much pressure on if you only have one squad of Sanguinary Guard, you really need them to make things happen. If they don't make things happen, then it can suck. So I recommend 2 squads of Sanguinary Guard. I'm sure you've heard me say that. But I mean, you can kind of do okay with the Vanguard Veterans, so this is maybe okay. Relic Terminators I like. Death Company I like. Relic Terminator's being able to get like a rerollable charge with the Litany of Hate, and with Icon of Angel and Litany of Hate Canticle of Hate is good. Troop choices I think overall are fine. 36-inch Quake Bolts, I guess there's a good reason for that. Landspeeder Storm is good. I'd probably try and get some more Landspeeders in there. You could even almost go like 2 regular Landspeeders, 2 Storms in here, that'd be cool. And then the Whirlwind with the Castellan Launcher. Yeah, and I mean, if you had a regular Landspeeder, then like we just said, you buff the Whirlwind as well. Okay. What idea am I stealing? I think Steel Rain tomorrow night. I'm going to run a Contemptor with the Volcon, the Cyclone Missile Launcher, and a combat weapon. So, alright, OBSEC. I guess we have 2 Phobos, 1 Heavy Intercessors, and Rites of War. I'm going to give you 9.5 for OBSEC. Blast Clear. Not a whole lot of shooting in this list, is there? I guess we've got your attack bikes, but they're likely to be in reserve, so they're not going to clear a lot of stuff. You get the Storm, you get the Heavy Intercessors, you get some Sanguinary Guard pistol. I'd say like your Horde clear is like an 8. And I usually base this number for the clear on shooting effectiveness, because you don't really want the... Poxwalkers went up in points. Yeah, I always use Poxwalkers as an example, but you don't really want to be charging Poxwalkers with Sanguinary Guard, for example. Is the Whirlwind still good, says Slabo. I think so, Slabo. I'm still planning on using it in pretty much every game I play. I use it as a backfield objective holder. I use it as a clear for hordes, and I use it for a fight last when I absolutely necessarily need to make some sort of enemy unit fight last, and it's good. I like it. I wish it did a little bit more damage, but that's that was okay. A minimum of 2 Sanguinary Guard was your idea, but you can have it. Yeah, I guess you kept banging on at me for months to run 2 Sanguinary Guard, and I do think it is very... I do think it's important to run 2 Sanguinary Guard, and I've played 2 Sanguinary Guard squads of 5s, and I don't think 5 are enough. So I think 2 squads of 6 is minimum-ish. But I mean, you know, this is my opinion. You're more than welcome to tell me my opinion's a load of shit. Alright, Anti-Miracle Monster. How many 4 damage weapons we got in here? We've got like 3 multi-meltas. We get 3 Thunderhammers, that gives us like 6. We get 3 more Chain Fists, that gives us potentially... I guess Chain Fists are kind of 3 damage weapons, that gives us 9. Infernal Pistol is 11. Another Infernal Pistol in the Chaplain is 12, and then Thunder. So there's like 14 3 damage weapons, and I guess you can get some multiple damage weapons against Psychers as well, with Clixus Assassin. I don't like the fact you got 4 characters. You know, like, maybe I don't normally take points off for having 4 characters, but it's fine. I just don't like it. Anti-monster vehicle then. We'll go for 9.5. You got 14... What did I just say? You got 14 3 damage weapons. Mobility. I mean, your heavy intercessors are and the relic terminators, I guess. And to a certain extent, the Calixus Assassin, but she can deep strike. So mobility overall is very good. And then specialization, we've got Fight Last from the Whirlwind. We don't have denies, but we kind of have -2 to all tests from the Calixus Assassin, and we've got Psychic Assassination, so that is good. Units for actions, I guess we've got like 6 units that can do actions, in that we've got the 3 troops, Sanguinary Guard, Vanguard Veterans. Yeah, so it's like 6. 3 damage weapons is good. CP starting. 6 is okay, it's about as low as I would go, and then you've got 2 sets of protection against mortals. So, if you're going to reserve some stuff, I guess you're on 5 CP. It's like an 8.5 or a 9. I think I'm going to go for 8.5 because... Am I going to go 9 actually? I'll go 9, but what I'll say is I don't like having... I think I just don't like having no dreadnoughts. And I don't particularly like the Sanguinary Priest. The configuration of not making him the selfless healer is strange to me, because you'll burn through your CP super fast if you're trying to resurrect anyone. And then I guess, like I said, Soul Warden on the Sanguinary Priest feels like it could maybe be switched because you're kind of overlapping the same ability. Will Death Company be replacing Sanguinary Guard? Not for me, I'm not running Death Company. I think they have other weaknesses that are not fixed by dropping them 2 points. I mean, I guess they're a little bit better. I mean, they're probably quite a bit more competitive better by dropping them 2 points, but I don't like that they can't perform actions. I don't like that they can fall back. But I mean, I guess if they can't fall back, you could Wings of Fire them out of there, right? Like, that would be valid. Let me just read the text on Wings of Fire. Where's Blood Angels? It's upon Wings of Fire, isn't it? Use a stratagem, select a core unit from your army and remove it from the battlefield. I guess they are core, so I guess the falling back thing is maybe not as big an issue as I thought. But yeah, I mean, no actions can be annoying, but yeah, maybe, you know, maybe Death Company are in a better state. I'll probably try and run some Death Company at some point. I guess if you are going to run the Death Company, you kind of want the Priest with the ability to give them that free Assault Doctrine in turn 1, right? But I mean, I guess if you don't have the Priest, you could always pay 2 CP for Adaptive Strategy and give them Assault Doctrine in turn 1 as well. So I guess there's other ways you could do that. Could go Chappie on the bike instead of the Chapter Master, and jump Chappie, slightly different strategy, but it could work for the list. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a pretty solid overall score for the list. I just don't. I don't like playing a list where I don't feel like I've got enough firepower to return fire in the early turns, and I think that's something that Dreadnoughts do really well. I think you want Astrath if you're running that many Death Company. Yeah, I mean, Death Company's morale of 7 can be negated by Astrath, meaning that you never feel morale. But I mean, I think it's a pretty solid list, Highland. I just think going forward, the attack bikes are going to be weaker. And I don't like 4 characters. I just don't like 4 characters. It's a lot of investment, and the game isn't Hero Hammer anymore, so I guess you have to balance out, like... You have to balance out the buffs you're getting from your characters with what you're not getting from... When you're not getting, like... What you're not getting from like another squad of guys for 100 points at your characters. I'm going to play triple Predator tomorrow. Good luck, Rezio, you're going to lose. Predators, man, they're so bad. Alright. Hopefully give you some food for thought, Highland. It is going to be a bit of a weird show, I guess, because we kind of know that, like, Chapter Approved is, like, right around the corner, and some of the points costs are out already, so feel free to resubmit a list if you think that you want to make some changes. Angelus Bolt Guns and Carmite weapons are still better than what you can get on Death Company 2, I'd say. The only problem with Sanguinary Guard 2 scoops is that if you come up against a -1 damage foe like Death Guard, or a bunch of Dreadnoughts and stuff, Sanguinary Guard feel neutered. They really feel bad against foes that can half or -1 damage. That's where I think Thunderhammers are really good. So I guess like... There's value in a small Death Company squad with Thunderhammers. There always is. I ran Terminators last week with Thunderhammers, and I liked them, and I'm probably going to run them again tomorrow. I haven't quite figured out my list for tomorrow, but I was going to try and basically play the new points costs tomorrow. So, but yeah, I think I'm running Terminators with Thunderhammers. It is nice to have Thunderhammers in the list. Like, even if you prefer Sanguinary Guard and you want to run a ton of Sanguinary Guard, I think Thunderhammers are still kind of important. I absolutely hate the feeling of my best unit gutted by a -1 damage and there's nothing I can do about it. Yeah, I mean, even if we had a stratagem where it was like, for this turn, Sanguinary Guard got +1 to their damage or something, so you could kind of counter that Cyborg, that would be very cool, right? I was actually surprised at how few stratagems that we have that actually buff our close combat when our whole army is like a close combat army, and like other armies that don't particularly do a ton of close combat, like Sisters of Battle or Admech, got like really good stratagems that help them in the combat phase. It was like, whatever. Alright. First time submitted a list, so here we go. Alright, Sayable, thanks for being here as well. Quick side note, I'm aiming to replace my jump captain with a bike captain when I get one, same build. Okay. I'm going to go over the list first and then I'll read your comments, because I think sometimes I do it the other way and it's more difficult to understand. Okay, so Relics of the Chapter, we've got 2. We've got Captain with Iron Resolve on a Storm Shield, and he's got the Teeth of Terra, so he's kind of a blendy captain. You know that captain, if you run him is the Death Company, he's actually pretty fun. I've done that with a few times with him on the bike. We then have the Primaris Chaplain on the bike. Spoiler, he's going up 10 points in Chapter Approved. Artisan of War, Mantra of Strength, Gift of Foresight, Adamantium Mantle, Angel's Artificer, the Armor Indomitus, and he is the Warlord, of course, so super tanky. Yeah. And then Sanguinary Priest, 120 points, Icon of the Angel, Rights of War. So we've seen this just a few minutes ago in Highland Phoenix list. People have kind of gone away from the Chief Apothecary upgrade because it's so expensive, I guess. Yeah. Going up against Custodes, you might want to ditch the Sanguinary Guard. I'm not going to ditch my Sanguinary Guard just because I'm playing a specific army. I'm also not going to ditch my anti-psyker Calixus, I think, just because I was playing a specific army, because I'm trying to work on a list. Like, I'm not going to be able to go to a tournament for like 6 months, I guess. If I'm going to have to paint a bunch of land speeders, I'm not going for a tournament for at least 2 or 3 months. But yeah, with the new baby, I figured I'm not going to a tournament for like 6 months, but I want to be ready so that I can go to a tournament as soon as possible with a list that can fight against everything. And I think, as much as I've enjoyed playing Null Zone Psychers for the last year, I think I'm dropping them and I'm going to go Calixus Assassin. Okay, Incursors, Infiltrators. So, like, kind of the strongest choices you could make troop-wise. 2 really good offensive troops, 1 really defensive troop. I like this a lot. Elites, we got Death Company. And I guess this Death Company would go down 10 points. 1 Thunderhammer, 1 guy with Infernal Pistol and Power Fist, and the rest with Chainsword. So the 10 points you lost on the Chaplain and the Bike, you would get back from this Death Company. So I guess there's no real change there. Redemptor Dreadnoughts, Icarus, Onslaught, etc. This is the perfect way to run a Redemptor. They're putting this up 10 points. I don't think this needed to go up 10 points. This guy doesn't have an invulnerable save. Putting up to 195 points to me seems crazy, but nonetheless, that's what they're doing. We then have Sanguinary Guard, 5-man with an Infernal Pistol, mostly swords, but 1 axe in there. And then another squad that's a couple more axes, Infernal Pistol, and swords. If you do have a couple more models with axes, I would swap them out for the swords. Quite often the swords aren't as good anymore, because not many things get affected by -4 EP that the swords can have in turn 3. For the most part, you push things onto their vulnerable save and the AP is wasted, and there's so much toughness 5 stuff running around, like orcs, custodes. What else was I playing that was toughness 5? Death Guard. There's like 3 or 4 armies now that are toughness 5, so it's harder to wound with the swords, and then when you do make the wound, the AP isn't as good anyway, so axes for me seem to be better. Would Eliminators with Las Fusils be a more viable choice than Heavy Intercessors? I mean, personally, I prefer Eliminators with Las Fusils. I think I like that they can do the shoot, move, shoot with the Sergeant, taking the Storm Carbine, whatever it's called. But yeah, I guess Heavy Intercessors, there's a reason for that. Has it frozen for anyone else? I don't think the stream is frozen. Let me check the stream health. It says the stream is healthy, so maybe just refresh if it comes back in. Okay, I lost my place. Vanguard Veterans, 157 points, mostly Lightning Claws and Storm Shields, but a Thunder Hammer and Sergeant makes sense to get the extra attacks with the Sergeant. A Venerable Dreadnought with twin las cannons and the combat weapon in the Heavy Flamer. Yeah, I mean, I like the Venerable Dread on paper. I do not like the twin las cannon. Like, I think you'd be better off just spending 5 points on a multi-melt, honestly. Is there that many times that your multi-melt is going to be out of range and the twin las cannon is going to be in range? Because the problem with the las cannon is its damage is just so swingy, and my argument would be that you're gonna be marching your Venerable Dreadnought in to get into combat. So at any point you get within half range, then the damage output in the multi-melt just gets really, really solid, especially hitting on 2s. If you're in combat as well, imagine a multi-melt at point blank range, hitting on 3s. You just, potentially you can do what? I mean, you get minimum of 6 damage if both multi-melts hits and wounds, I guess. It's froze several times on the stream. Okay, I mean, YouTube says it's healthy. It says drop frame 0%, so it's probably not on my end actually that we're having a problem, because normally it'll tell me if I'm dropping frames. We then have a squad of attack bikes, and it's 2 attack bikes, and we have a squad of Inceptors, and it's Bolter Inceptors, and I like both these units. I run both of them typically. I've been running both of them typically now for in and out for like the last year. I guess attack bikes now are just a little bit crapper because you would need to have 3 of them to make it, you'd have 3 of them to get engage on all fronts points. I mean, I guess it's not the end of the world. If you're not going to take engage on all fronts, then you don't care. But if you are going to be, I was going to say, you've got the Sanguinary Priest in this list. If you're not going to be doing resurrections on the bikes, it's better to run them as 2 separate squads. because you can bring them in separate places from strategic reserve. The thing is, if you've got two bikes, like I often find that if I've got a sanguinary priest, people will focus down the tap bikes. They're not going to leave a single bike there because you know you'll heal the bike and then resurrect another one, right? So, and that's a really valuable thing. If you can resurrect a 60-point bike, that can be a huge swing in a game, right? Like that can win you games. That's why when I used to run the Centurions, when you resurrect a 55-point Centurion, it's like really valuable. But my personal opinion is run the bikes as two different squads. Then you have the more flexibility of bringing them in different places on the board and getting killed here. The Age of Double Venerables with multi-meltas and fists and flamers it is. I think we might see some. I don't know if you need to spend the points on the flamer. Like I don't know if a heavy flamer. Like I'm not convinced you're going to pay Overwatch if you just have a heavy flamer. Like I don't think. But I guess the thing about the Venerable is it's cheap shooting and it's very good in combat. I also play Fists and run 6 Centurions. Bringing back a 100-point Centurion feels so good. Yeah, I mean I don't run shooting Centurions, but yeah, I mean I guess that's solid if you are bringing back shooting Centurions. Would ATVs be a good choice for Engage now? Do they have the vehicle keyword? I actually don't know. Surely ATVs are bikers. Yeah, they don't have the right keyword, so ATVs cannot do Engage on all fronts. If you had a multi-melta dreadnought, you would do it over the top of it. Okay, all right, fair enough. If these are the units that you have, then these are the units that you have. What would I change in this list? And you said you were going to try and make the captain on a bike. Okay, I mean either or is fine. And who's your warlord? The chaplain. Yeah, okay. So this captain on a bike upgraded to the Death Company is actually pretty fucking scary. At that point, you kind of don't need the Storm Shield, in my opinion, because you gain the 6-up save from the Death Company. You get more attacks, and you can use your Death Visions, which is pretty cool. I like the Death Visions. The Death Company with Thunderhammer, Infernal Pistol, Power Fist is all fine. A single Redemptor. Oh, well, you do have 2 Dreadnoughts. I guess you've got the Venerable as well. Okay, so I'm kind of okay with this. I would prefer a multi-melta, but I mean, Twin Last Cannon I guess gives you a bit of range, and maybe in turn 1 you can play him strategically and outrange the enemy, so you could maybe do that. I'd love to see an extra model in both squads of Sanguinary Guard. Like I said, 5 just feels too small to me. Especially if you come up against those -1 damage enemies, you're going to struggle with 5. You're probably going to see me struggle tomorrow on the channel with 2 squads of 6 Sanguinary Guard against Custodes. So you'll know why I recommend having 6, because we're going to struggle against Custodes. The bikes are good. The Inceptors are pretty decent. The last few old move, shoot, move guys are good as well. Overall, you have like some pretty good punch. I guess you've got the 2 Dreadnoughts and Eliminators for long range punch. You can have the attack bikes reserved. You can have the Inceptors coming in deep strike. 2 Sanguinary Guard and the Vanguard Veterans and the Death Company. I mean, that's 4 good jump pack units. The 2 Incursors to get forward deployed. Yeah, I mean everything seems good so far, right? There should be Quake bolts on the Eliminators. Did I miss that? It's sometimes easy to miss. No, but okay, so you'd pay 1 CP and you put Quake bolts on the Eliminators, which makes sense. So you've got that 1 2 up to hit, and if you hit, then you can give +1 to a unit, which I actually think there's good value in Quake bolts as well, especially if you're running a Redemptor Dreadnought. You can have somebody shoot its target and give it +1 to hit in melee. That's pretty darn useful. I'm not sure Custodes are going to be much of a problem. -1 sucks, but they're usually not many models. Custodes are going to be a problem, Steel Rain, because the bikers got their Melta guns buffed to D3 +3, so they're just going to wreck shit. And apparently Andrew tabled Colin in 45 minutes with the Custodes. He said that they felt like crazy powerful, so I'm kind of a little bit scared for tomorrow's game, honestly. And what's the guy's name? Valaris? I forget. Forget his first name. and I can't spell his second name. I'm going to have to go to the Custodes page and click on him. But Valaris is like a monster now, and he's cheaper than Dante. Because I was kind of joking with Andrew. I was like, oh, of course he's cheaper than Dante. How many points is Valaris now? They put it on the Warhammer community, right? I try to go Warhammer community and go to Wikipedia so often that was there an actual, I can't remember if it was part of this or if it was like, no, this was it, 3 points updates. So Valaris went down 10 points, I think. Does anyone know how much points Valaris was? Yeah. Because I don't think he's as much as this is saying. He was 190. I don't think he's 190 anymore. I think he's about 160. Pity Tony's not in the chat tonight actually, because he had the Custodes codex. But I believe this guy got like 8 wounds now and is more toughness, and he's 160. Yeah. I think if you've got the profile DTM, if you can share it, but like, so this guy is horrifically scary compared to like, he's 5 points cheaper than Dante. Let's not get on to a rant about how Blood Angel stuff is costed, I guess. But yeah, the guys in chat, Miguel and DTM, are going to tell you how horrific Valaris is now. Okay, so HQ's Chaplain runs with a Sanguinary Guard, uses Angel's Artifice to basically big tanky threatening buff boy. Captain to run either with the Death Company or create a single character threat dependent kind of distraction captain with killing power. So yeah, you could put, if that's what you want to run this captain as, like an infantry blender. He's 8 wounds, flat 3 weapon, 5++, feel no pain. Wow. Yeah, I thought he never had a feel no pain before, did he? No. So 8 wounds. 3 damage weapon, I guess that'll be his axe, and 5 up, feel no pain, and again cheaper than Dante. Yeah, I think he can fight twice as well. I think Andrew said, I think he had a way that you're allowed to maybe fight twice at the end of the fight phase. He can fight twice, yeah, of course. So he's got like he's got 10 attacks more. Maybe gets +1 when he charges or something. Did Inceptors and Attack Bites go up again for tournament play? No, Inceptors haven't changed, Attack Bites haven't changed, but Attack Bites can no longer score you engage on all fronts unless you're running 3 of them now. And Trajan regens CP every battle round. Yeah. So I'm scared. I'm scared of Custodes for tomorrow night, honestly. So you could run him as a Death Company character, get some Death Visions, and you can blend against like a Horde army. You can get like, I've had like 16 attacks against a non-Horde army with him. It's pretty nice. Sanguinary Priest to run with Vets, making them even more tanky, bring that healer needed. Also, early movement doctrine on them and lets them reroll charges. Can also bring back other units as he's good movement, bikes and scepters. Alright, so I guess that's why you've got the bikes together. You're going to be really smart with those bikes. A lot of enemy players can kill 2 or 3 attack bikes in a single round very easily. Troops to do actions. Guerrilla tactics about the board when needed. Infiltrators to deny deep strike. Yep. Elites, Death Company threaten turn 1 off for striking something important. Try and trade ups for something big. Redemptor and Venerable Dreadnoughts are gun platforms that can melee. Kill things and hold an objective. Using Wisdom of the Ancients, yep, to maximize shooting. Sanguinary Guard to delete what needs deleting. Vanguard Veterans of the Priest to steal objective. CP Reserve to bring in and kill what needs killing. Get an Angel of Fronts. Clear enemies off objectives. Yeah, I mean, I guess the bikes idea for engaging on fronts is going to change next week, but right now it was valid. Eliminators provide threat. Selecting most dangerous units start killing. Can also guerrilla tactics for shenanigans, rod, etc. Bring it down, engage on all fronts. Rod, Stranglehold. I think Oath of Moment could be good with this too. Can pick Abhor the Witch if needed. Yeah, I mean, Oath and Abhor are good. I personally think if you want to do engage on all fronts now, you kind of have to drop your attack bikes. I do not like Stranglehold, personally. I don't I don't commit that hard to objectives when I'm playing. I try and get the 45 points or the maximum throughout the game for primaries, but like if primary objectives are like out in the open and you have to just stand units on there and wither firepower to hold them for like stranglehold, Blood Angel's units do not stand up to firepower. So I guess it's terrain dependent to a certain degree, and yeah, Stranglehold is just, it's not really on my agenda. It's not the way I play. I would prefer that the enemy came to the objective and then I make the charge onto the objective and kill them. And I guess in some ways that can give you Stranglehold, but yeah, I think it would be terrain dependent. I know some people in the chat really like it. It's not something that I ever really build for. And yeah, I mean, I've played like a similar list to this a bunch of times now, you know, and I think we're in a tough spot. A 3-up armor save and toughness 4 isn't what it used to be. Our models get killed very, very quickly. So I guess I prefer engage, rod, oath, bring it down, maybe even relentless assault. Yeah. Alright, is there anything in this list that I really don't like? The only thing I don't like probably is the Redemptor, because he's got no invulnerable save, and the attack bikes because they're now going to be not useful for engaging all fronts anymore. So possibly what I would do, if this was me, I guess I'd drop one attack bike, maybe take a land speeder. That's 70 points, that frees up 50 points. Try and use the best, and then get the melted gun for your Venerable Dreadnought, save another 20 points, that gives you 70 points. That lets you put an extra model into both squads of Sanguinary Guard, making them 6, which I think is important. And that would leave you like, what, 4 points left? 6 points left over? How much was this list actually coming in at? So you would have about 9 points. So if you drop the Storm Shield on the Captain, that would give you 19 points. You could almost put him in the Death Company because that costs you 20 points. You need to find like one more upgrade somewhere else. You would lose a Lightning Claw off one of these guys or something. Have him 1 Lightning Claw, 1 Storm Shield. Or, sorry, 1 Lightning Claw, 1 Chain Sword. All that does is lose you 1 attack with a Lightning Claw, right? You would make the attack with Chain Sword. I'd probably do that. And then that would let you make the Captain be part of the Death Company. It gives them the Shrug. It gives you... If that Captain is on a bike, that gives you the ability to do a 14-inch like, if you deploy your Death Company and there's nowhere good for them to Forlorn Fury to, then you could Forlorn Fury your Captain 14 inches. Throw a bit of a curveball. I've done that to other people before and just had that Captain smash into like their troops in turn 1, and he's got like 11 attacks if he's part of the Death Company, I think. With the Teeth of Terra, because it's like 4 attacks, plus 1 for charging, plus 3 for the Teeth of Terra, plus 1 for the Death Company. You wouldn't need to take Iron Resolve if he was Death Company, because Death Company give him a 6-up Shrug, so give him something that's going to give him more attacks, like Imperium Sword, and let him reroll a charge. So you get the 10-inch charge. You get a 14-inch move pre-game, because I think it actually maybe Forlorn Fury actually says. Does it say up to 12 inches? Yeah, okay, so you get your 12 inches move pre-game, then you can move the Captain on the bike 14 inches, and then you're going to get 10 attacks with a rerollable charge, hitting on 2s. If you're up against infantry, the Imperium Sword gives the Teeth of Terra plus 1 strength as well. So your Teeth of Terra goes from like strength 5 to strength 6, I think. Yeah, so your Teeth of Terra will be on strength 6 with plus 1 to wound, so even against like toughness 5 enemies, you hit on 2s, you wound on 2s. And if you manage to get into a blob of enemies, like Necrons or something, you can pay upon... the Vengeful Spirit is what you need to search for. Yeah. So on the Bridge of the Vengeful Spirit, use this Death Vision if your infantry character or monster character models are visible to your Captain. If a model uses the Death Vision, then add 1 to that model's attack characteristic for every 5 models that were within 6. So if you charge into like a big blob of like 20 Necrons, that's 4 extra attacks. Each time you make an attack, you can reroll a hit. So you'd be like hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, wounding on 2s, and you can get like, the best I ever got out of this was 16 attacks. And I think at that point you just don't need the Storm Shield. He's just a missile. Yeah, but so okay. We don't see that Death Company captain too much, but if that's the reason for the captain to be there, to go with the Death Company and stuff, and you've got your chaplain as your warlord, and he's buffing the Sanguinary Guard, and you don't need the captain for that, then that's a fun way to run a captain. You don't have to. Just a thought. Alright, let's do some scoring on the... We got 3 full boss units, so we're going to go for like an 8.5 on the OBSEC. I have anti-infantry. The Blender Death Company captain on bike with teeth is hilarious. I love him. Yeah, I actually made one. I thought he was pretty fun. What's the thoughts on including the lieutenants? I prefer captains over lieutenants. I tried to run a lieutenant a couple of times. I don't hate them. I just prefer captains. If you think about it, you always roll to hit before you roll to wound. So rerolls on hits are kind of more valuable than rerolls on wounds, in my opinion. If you want to reroll 1s, fire wisdom on wounds, fire 1 CP wisdom with ancients. That's how I would do that. Replace Teeth of Terror and a Storm Shield with a Master-crafted Lightning Claws. I think the Teeth of Terror is going to do more damage. Unless you're up against -1 damage enemies, the Teeth of Terror is going to be better, right? Because... yeah, you're going to get more attacks with the Teeth of Terror. Yeah, I guess Master-crafted Lightning Claws is going to be very similar. It might cost a few more points, I guess, because they'll... yeah. Okay, Anti-infantry horde. Inceptors, the 2 dreadnoughts, 10 sanguinary guard, the attack bikes, the eliminators. I mean, this list has a decent amount of firepower. It could probably do a bit of damage against hordes. I like having a couple of dreadnoughts in there, and I think that if they're used right, they can definitely put out a decent bit of firepower that can deal with horde models. 3 damage weapons, so we get 2 eliminators, we get 2 multi-meltas, we got this dreadnought for 2 more, so that gives us 6. We got Thunderhammer here, 7, 2 more Infernal Pistols, 9, another dreadnought, that gives us 11, a Thunderhammer Infernal Pistol here, that gives us 13, and then I guess... our chaplain gives us 14, so the same as the last list. So I think anti-monster infantry is probably about the same. We're in a good spot. We can do a lot of damage. Against -1 enemies, we're not too much trouble because we do have those 14 3 damage or more weapons. Mobility wise, I guess the dreadnoughts aren't mobile, but they don't overly need to be. And then I guess everything else is pretty mobile. The only other thing, I guess, is the eliminators, but you have the sergeant letting them do the move, shoot, move. So mobility is fine. I was going to say, is it a 9? Is it better than Highland Phoenix's list? No, I think we're going to go with the same. I mean, Highland had 2 units that aren't mobile. So this is the same, I guess. And then... alright. Specialization. So we don't have a fight last, and we don't have any psychic denial. Oh, I missed that you had Rights of War on the Sanguinary Priest. I'm sorry. So it probably moves that to 9 on the OBSEC. So we don't have any psychic denial. We don't have a fight last. So a couple points off for there. Units for actions were kind of good. Inceptors, Eliminators can also perform actions on top of the jump units. So units for actions is fine. 3 damages weapons is fine. CP starting 7 is right on where I think is fine. And then mortal wound protection, we have what? We've got our Sanguinary Priest giving us some mortal wound protection. And then I guess, you know, the Death Company and the possibly Death Company Captain have a little bit. So probably like a 7.5. So yeah, a couple of points off and half a point off for less mortal wound protection, I'd say. Good evening, Ray. Thanks for being here. Odd Sods, good evening. How you doing? You can't cast spells when you're dead, says Cyborg. Yeah, I mean, but you gotta get in on range. What did I miss about? You can technically you can't only mastercraft 1 lightning claw, so the second lightning claw would be giving you plus 1 extra d1 attack damage. Kind of weird, but I think that's how it works. Yeah, I think you're right. You would basically be able to make, if you had 10 attacks and you had a mastercrafted lightning claw, you'd be able to make 9 attacks with a mastercrafted lightning claw, and 1 attack would be on the crap single damage lightning claw. I think that's how it would have to work. Venerable Dread also gets a shrug on a 6, which could help. Yeah, that's very true. You could spend 1 CP somewhere maybe to put Soul Warden down. Yeah, it would be tough. It would be tough to fit in, I guess. Still, I mean, 43 is a very respectable score. I honestly wouldn't worry about, like, I don't think the show isn't designed to build you a high score. What the show is designed to do is to tell you if there's problems with your list. Fight Last and Denies can be problematic. Protection against mortal wounds, I guess the example could be problematic, but the point is, like, what's that saying? It's like, Jack of all trades or master of none, right? Like, you cannot be a master of all these things. You can't build a list that's going to do well against all these things. So I suppose you could Armor of Contempt the Dres for mortals as well. Yeah, I guess okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm not giving him half a point back though, because I think it's important maybe now. If you really want to have protection against mortals, I feel like you need Soul Warden. Or could you swap out, what's your litanies, right? You could have taken Litany of Faith. I mean, you could still find 25 points and upgrade this guy to the one that gives you 2 litanies and get a 5-up shrugging against mortals. Against some armies, a 5-up shrugging against mortals for 25 points could be a steal, but against other armies, it's completely worthless 25 points. So yeah, I think 43 is a respectable score for this list. Overall, I kind of like it. I think I already made my points. Like, Sanguinary Guard, 6s, attack bikes, less important now, and I think if you really want the Death Company guy to be a blender, then put him in the... Sorry, if you really want the captain to just be a blender of infantry, put him in the Death Company. Because I think that's pretty fun. Okay. Did I miss something else about the Space Wolf Frost Claws specifically state that it applies to 2 Lightning Claws if you have 2, but the Mastercrafted for the Villa book has no such cause. Yeah, I think you would get... I think one of the attacks would need to be on a basic Lightning Claw and the rest would be on your Mastercrafted one, because that's kind of how the wording would write. Yeah. Alright, and then Odd Sods, he did join the stream late, but thanks for joining in. Odd Sods, you are list number 3 today, so please give me any feedback that you have while we're going through it. Alright, we are on... I'm looking for it. Yeah, Battalion. Okay, 2,000 points exactly, 8 CP. 2 extra relics. We start with the Vindicator Assassin, and... the opinion in this channel is that Vindicator Assassin is too swingy. I tend to agree with this. I think it's a bit like running a Phobos captain. You're either going to kill something really effectively, or you're going to do no damage. And I think at the highest levels of play, the fact that you can do no damage is problematic, so I would go for a different assassin. But, you know, you could spend 2 CP before the battle and switch out the assassin. We all know that, so having an assassin in the list is fine. Death Company captain on a bike, who is part of the Death Company. He has the Hammer of Baal and a twin bolt gun. I mean, that's fine. I guess he's got the Hammer of Baal and a twin bolt gun. I wonder if a mastercrafted hammer is better here, because you do get the ability to reroll all your hits, right? With one of your death visions. So I think when I math hammered this out before, there's like literally no difference between a mastercrafted hammer and the Hammer of Baal. So it's something to consider, you know, like if there's a way to reroll all your hits, having a 4 damage thunder hammer is pretty tasty. I would like to point out the list you now have is very much out of date, but did win a few matches. That's all right. I'll give you feedback, and I guess we can talk this list on, because everything's going to change this week when Chapter Approved comes out, right? Alright, Librarian Dreadnought with Quickening, Speed of the Primarch, Wings. He is a Chief Librarian, and he has a Meltagun and Psychic Mastery, and he is the Warlord. Okay, I like the fact you gave him Psychic Mastery, because I think +1 to cast is really important if you're going to try and get some of these powers off. Quickening and Wings makes him very much a beat stick character. And, you know, personally, I don't recommend having 2 beat stick characters in a list, and this is exactly kind of what you have. You got your one with potentially the Hammer of Baal or a 4 damage hammer, and then you got your Librarian Dreadnought with a ton, like 10 attacks, whatever he gets, with Quickening, giving him D3 attacks and Psychic Mastery. I think the age of Smash characters is kind of dead, personally. And I mean, you can run Smash characters, and I'm sure you can run and jump into things and smash them. But I think in some lists, you know, like for example, if you come up against Mortarion, where you can turn off all your rerolls and all that sort of nonsense that you can get, and also tank a ton of damage, then like Smash characters can be much weaker. I guess I don't run any Smash characters anymore in my lists. I build characters to survive, and I build characters to grant buffs, but yeah, I mean, you can definitely do damage with Smash characters. They're always fun to have. Just, they had extra reliability in previous editions, because there was like that stratagem you could play for like 2 or 3 CP, and that would let you fight again, which was so strong. But ever since they dropped that, it means like, you know, I had that game a few weeks ago where I took Mephiston and I jumped him in, and he had like 8 attacks or something, and then he whiffed like 4 of them and failed to wound 2 of them, and it's just like, wow. So Mephiston did 2 you know, the enemy had to take a couple of saves from Mephiston. He's never going to kill anything, and then he just gets whacked. So that's something to consider with Smash characters. We then have the Sanguinary Priest, who is the Selfless Healer, and he has Chief Apothecary, so that makes sense, right? We're going to resurrect a model every turn, we're going to heal 2 models. For Infiltrators, we have a squad with the Helix Gauntlet, we also have Incursors with the Haywire Mine, and we have the Intercessors with the Bolt Rifles. I don't know if I feel like the Mine is worth the 10 points. I think that typically with Incursors, you are going to be the one on the offensive, so the Mine isn't going to be that useful. I also don't think it's really a deterrent, you know, like, if they charge you, they're going to take a couple of mortal wounds at best. You know, if they think that they can wipe your squad, then they'll wipe the squad and they'll take a couple of mortal wounds. It's not the end of the world, right? The Helix Gauntlet on the Infiltrators makes sense if you're really trying to protect a battlefield objective. If that's all you've got, then that's fine. And Intercessors are fine, but I think you're better off just taking Incursors, because they do both. You know, they kill things with their guns, and they also do better in melee. But that's just my opinion. When we compared Intercessors with Bolt Rifles, do I still have that tab open? I did a video, yeah, I've still got that tab open. Intercessors with bolt rifle against incursors. I mean, they do like half a damage more. Like shooting wise, they get 6 more inches and they do half a damage more. Half a damage, remember that number, because that's how much extra damage they do. But then when we get into melee, the incursors can do like 2 damage. They basically do double the damage of the intercessors in a bunch of the situations, yeah. So, like a Blood Angels player, inevitably you want to be in close combat. You don't want to be trying to kill shit with shooting. So, I just think incursors are a better option all the time for troops. Elites, you've got the Tactical Warsuit, which I think is crazily overcosted for what you actually get. 13 wounds on a toughness 6 on a 3-up save. I think he's really difficult to play, the Tactical Warsuit, because he has concealed positions. You really feel like you should push him forward. But he's actually not that good in turn 1 and 2, right? Like, he gets better once you get into turn 3 and you get like Assault Doctor and up. Do Tactical Warsuits have core? I feel like they don't. It's been a while since I looked at Tactical Warsuits because I don't think they're a good unit. No, they don't have core. I was right, yeah. So, like, you can't get them an Assault Doctor and early from, like, a Priest or anything like that. They can't get rerolls. If you compare them to a 35 point more Redemptor that has 1 more toughness and has a -1 damage and has arguably better weapons, is the concealed position all that worth it? Like, I don't rate these guys at all. I don't actually own any of them, but I proxied my Redemptors at them a couple of times to figure, like, hey, are these things good? Should I be buying them? And, like, I just didn't feel they were. Reziel says they're super easy to kill, yeah, and I think that's their biggest weakness, because you deploy them forward because you think it's going to give you an advantage, and then the enemy kills them in 1 turn, and my experience with them is not great. You then have the Sanguinary Ancient with the Wrath of Baal, so we can get 2 inches extra move on our jump units. We have a Sanguinary Guard. This is 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. So a nice 9-man Sanguinary Guard. It's all swords here, though. And I think swords are only going to be better if you have Null Zone. And you don't have Null Zone in this list. So ideally you would have axes now. Warsuits bracket and don't have -1 damage, so they're crap. Yeah, they're just not as good. 9-man Sanguinary Guard is fine. Again, if this was just me, I would lose the Warsuit and I would use these 160 points, because that's 5 Sanguinary Guard right on 160 points, and I would divide this into 2 and just have 2 7-man Sanguinary Guards. You got the Ancient to give you the extra movement, so I think 2 7-man Sanguinary Guards and the Ancient is going to be way better than a Tactical Warsuit and 9 Sanguinary Guard. Anyone in chat disagree with me? I use the Warsuit as a bullet magnet to give my Lookout Sir from my Death Company captain on a bike with Forlorn Fury. Okay, I mean, I guess that's one way you can make it useful, but like, you do, when you Forlorn Fury, you know if you're going first or second, right? So I guess if you're not going first, don't Forlorn Fury into an exposed position, Forlorn Fury into cover. James Fisher likes 7-man Sanguinary Guard, 4, 5, 6s bounce too often. Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to take the 7-man Sanguinary Guards because they're 32 points a model, but I get what you're saying. We then have Vanguard Veteran Squad, Lightning Claws and Storm Shields, and everyone in a Relic Blade on the Sergeant. Small tip, I think, is if you only have the Sergeant left, you can probably put an Infernal Pistol on him, right? Because, like, if the whole squad is dead and you've wasted all your Storm Shield saves, then the Sergeant's probably going to die too, so maybe having an Infernal Pistol there gives you the option to Infernal Pistol something in point blank range and do some nice damage. But yeah, I think axes as well are better than swords right now. If you're not running Null Zone, axes are definitely better than swords right now. There's far too many things, like Death Guard are a great example, you know, like they have a 3-up save and a 5-up invulnerable save, so the -2 from axes on the Death Guard instantly put them on their invulnerable save, so your swords are just wasted. You're just making it harder for yourself to wound with the swords against Death Guard. Okay, and then Devastators, we don't see Devastators very often. Holy crap, it's Las Cannons. How many points does a multi-melta cost on a Devastator squad? Because I feel like multi-meltas are the better choice, personally. I guess las cannons get more range, but las cannons are also really swingy. Where is heavy weapons? Multi-melta. Alright, so las cannons are 15 points. Okay. I mean, I'd rather 3 multi-meltas than 4 las cannons, personally. Because you actually would get 6 shots with. But yeah, I mean, I guess you could lose the combi melta. Combi melta probably seems redundant, right? Because like devastators are probably going to want to stay at range, so you're never if you're within 12 inches of the enemy to shoot your combi melta, you're in a bad position. You kind of want to be using the sergeant to give one of the other devastators +1 to hit anyway. So yeah, I guess you've got a drop pod. I assume the drop pods for the devastators. 3 multi-meltas is going to be better than 4 las cannons. You'd probably be better just going, if that's your plan, you'd probably just be better going 3 multi-meltas and then drop the combi melta and get a cherub. The reason behind that is because the sergeant can make one of your devastators hit on 2s, right? So you make one devastator hit on 2s, and then that's the devastator that rerolls, that shoots a second time with the armored cherub. You get owned by Doomstalkers. Alright, but I mean, there's definitely better ways to deal out damage now, I think, than las cannons. Like 2 squads of eliminators with las fusils, I'd probably prefer over this. If you can't drop within 24 inches of the enemy, then I guess, yeah. Las cannons to me are just too swingy. They're just not reliable enough. I don't think jump captains can buy a pair of lightning claws either. I know it's an option on Battlescribe, but Wikipedia has a lightning claw replacing bolt gun chainsword, and WA is more accurate than Battlescribe. Yeah, I'm not sure. And then you do have your eradicators with the melta rifles. Cool. And there's a stormbolter in the drop pod. Okay. Hello, I have a list for critique. Eradicator Squadron Reserve. Okay, interesting. We don't see that too often. Expensive Squadron Reserve. Sanguinary Ancient has a relic to add 2-inch tall jump packs. I mean, maybe the Sanguinary Ancient at this list should run Icon of the Angel if you don't have it elsewhere. So that you are moving forward the extra 2 inches and then re-rolling your charge. Sanguinary Guard and the Sanguinary Priest in the ball with Vanguard Veterans protecting Library and Dreadnought moving up the board. Yeah, okay. And I guess you get Psychic Mastery to try and make your psychic tests more accurate. Overall, I guess you've got a point for including the Tactical Warsuit. I guess you've got a point for including your Devastators as well. Like, we talk about lists, we talk about take all corners, and that means like make a list that's going to be good against everything. Multi-meltas I think are going to do more damage against than las cannons in most situations. And I think tactical warsuits are going to be it's just going to be 160 points lost in some armies. And I've said before, I was at a tournament recently where I got to the top table and I lost, and if I'd won that game I'd have won the tournament, grand tournament it was. And in that tournament I only had 1 squad of Sanguinary Guard, and I felt like if I'd had 2, probably could have won the game. So I think it is important to have 2 squads of Sanguinary Guard in case the enemy manages to whittle one down or get the jump on you or fall out of combat and re-engage or something. So I think personally I would prefer that over the tactical warsuit. If you can't make a good Forlorn Fury with your Death Company captain on a bike, Forlorn Fury him into a concealed position. I'm pretty sure 100% you can give a captain 2 lightning claws. I guess there's a lot of debate there. The only other thing to say, I guess, is you do have 4 characters, which I don't overly like because it makes an easy assassinate pick against you by the enemies. And I guess you're spending 1 CP to reserve the Eradicators on 7 power level. That's fine. It's a decent amount of CP to start with. I like the idea of reserving the Eradicators, especially with the drop pod. I just think las cannons are unreliable. I've run them myself, and like the 48-inch range, you think like, great, we're going to do these las cannons, but every time you need to do damage with the las cannons, you roll a 1. Like, the damage rolls on las cannons are the bane of my life. Okay, let's give it a little bit of scoring, and then if I guess if you've changed your list and you've got more to say, odd sods, you could you can come back with, you're welcome to submit another list. It'll just be a little while probably before I review it, because there is a bit of a queue for list reviews. Okay. Oh, you actually have 5 characters. Shit, I forgot that you have the assassin. Alright, I really don't like that. I don't have a scoring situation where I take points off for having 5 characters, but that's a liability. That makes picking assassinate against you super easy. If I'm playing against you, I'm taking assassinate every game, and I know I'm getting between 9 and 15 points, because 5 characters is too many points in characters as well, honestly. What's that? 475, 575 plus the ancient. 690 points in characters. You have way too many characters. You need to be maximum 400 points for characters. Yeah, I think that you'll get run over by some armies in terms of like just raw models, because you've spent 700 points on characters. You'll lose engagements all across the board just because you're outnumbered. But with like my squads of guys, will have 8 guys, and yours will have 6, for example, because I haven't spent so much on characters. And you'll struggle to trade, I think. And you're always looking for like trading up. I guess you've got those 2 smash characters. The thing is, that's the thing though, right? 180 points on a smash character compared to like 5 more sanguinary guard, for example. And I guess that's why Smash characters are out of the meta. If you think like your Smash character is going to maybe luck out, you're going to have to spend some CP on him, you're going to have to cast some Psychic Test, you're maybe going to get 10 attacks. My naked squad of Sanguinary Guard are going to get 25 attacks or something. So if I go first, you're dead. If you go first, you maybe kill 2 or 3 models, and then I can still do like a ton of damage back at you. And my squad was cheaper, and I'm not going to be giving up like assassinate points as well when that squad dies, right? So OBSEC, you've got 3 units, and you do have a squad of infiltrators in there, so that's kind of nice. We'll say like 8.5 anti-horde infantry. So I mean, you do have a bunch of firepower that you could use to kill hordes, but overall I'd say it's kind of, maybe it's even a 7.5. I was going to say, can the Vindicator Assassin kill hordes? I don't think he can. He just gets 1 shot, or I think you can pay 1 CP and you can shoot again, but it has to be a different target. 3 damage weapons then. We got the Hammer of Baal, we got Librarian Dreadnought rocking 2, so that's 3. We got the Iron Tail Heavies, we got the Fist on the Tactical Warsuit, that's 4. The Las Cannons gives us 8, and the Eradicators gives us 11, so we do have 11 3 or more damage weapons, but we do also have like 4 of them are las cannons, which are unreliable, I feel like. And the Tactical Warsuit's going to be unreliable as well, because he's going to struggle to stay. He's going to struggle a little bit. I'm going to go 8.5 on here. Mobility wise, a few non-mobile units like your Eradicators or your Devastators, and I guess your Incursors, but I mean overall mobility is fine. I wouldn't say it's too bad. And then specialization, I guess we don't have a fight last. We did have Speed of the Primarch on the Librarian Dreadnought, but I feel like that's a lower value Warlord trait. I don't know what the best one would be here. Probably Iron Resolve, actually. Like, you just want the guy to be really survivable. Give him 9 wounds, gives him a 6-up shrug. So we do have 2 denies because he's a Chief Librarian. We do have a bunch of units for actions, so that's decent. We do have enough 3 damage weapons, but there's a couple of questions about them. We do have 7 CP after we spend some to start with. Do you know what? It might even be more valuable taking like Soul Warden in the Librarian Dreadnought. Give him a 5-up shrug against mortals and everyone around him. You now use Iron. Yeah, I mean, Iron would be good, but Soul Warden would not be bad as well, especially if he's in the mix with the jump units. Protection against mortals for a bunch of them would be nice as well. So I think overall specialization is probably like an 8, but I think there's ways you can improve this as well. And I think one of the things, as much as you maybe like las cannons against that Necron list that's doing problems against you, I think what you have to consider is like you need to make a list that's going to be strong against everything. And I think you need 2 squads of Sanguinary Guard. I think you need a question mark about this tactical war suit, and I think you need to get away from 5 characters. I've had more success since I started losing characters in terms of like I just run 3 now, and I think I spend like 360 points on characters, and that's why I'm saying like 400 points is probably a good limit. If you can spend like 350 points on characters as opposed to 750, like how many more, like if we talk about Death Company being cheap now, like Death Company with Chainswords being 23 points per model, if you spent 695 points on characters, I spent 365, so divide that by 23, that's 14 more Death Company models. So I could have 2 7-man squads of Death Company. That's a boatload of attacks. I guess that's like, 14 times 6? It's about 80 chainsword attacks. So that's the difference between how much you're spending on characters over I am. And what are you getting? Like 100 points you're getting literally 1 shot from the assassin. Maybe you can kill something. But sometimes with assassin he's just going to do 1 damage or something, or no damage. And then Sanguinary Ancient's your Sanguinary Ancient is just a Sanguinary Guard. I get why you've taken him because he makes the other ones faster. So maybe I'm okay with this list if you're doing 4 characters, but I'm really not okay with doing 5. It just means if you ever have a tough game and you lose like a lot of your army, you give away like between 10 and 15 points really easily. Are any of you Blood Angels players excited by Death Company at all? It's slightly interesting, DTM. Ever so slightly. But not overly, I guess. I don't run the Sanguinary Priest at the moment because I think he's overcosted, and I think if you want to have the Death Company be effective, you need to run the Sanguinary Priest. So, because you want to be able to get them in... You want them to be able to get in combat in turn 1, and you want them to be able to get into Assault Doctrine in turn 1. And I don't think so. Yeah. Okay, well, I gotta get ready for bed and stuff, and set up the stream for tomorrow night. We are playing Custodes, I think. Andrew was texting me during this stream, so let me just see if he mentioned knights or something. Alright. Oh, so Andrew just sent me his list for tomorrow. Here you go. Can I pull this up on the screen and you guys can show me, and you can leave me a comment on the disc. You guys can tell me. You guys always tell me in the Discord how to not get beaten by Andrew. So let me pull this list up for you real quick. This is what the new Custodes list is going to look like, and I guess this is what I'm going to be playing tomorrow on stream. I'll just put it in Notepad. Alright, so it's 2,000 points. He's starting with 9 CP. That seems generous. He has a Shield Captain on a Dawn Eagle jet bike. He has Valoris. He has 2 squads of Custodian Guards. Shields in one of them, I guess. 2 Contemptor Achilles Dreadnoughts with the twin Arthratic Destructors. I don't remember what those guns are, but I do remember those Contemptors being a real pain to deal with. The twin Arthratic Destructors are 18-inch. Assault 2, 5 -3, flat 3 damage. Ouch. This model's rostrum bolters can be placed with... Okay. 5 minus 3, 3 damage, assault 2. But they got no melee weapon, right? No, but they do have a 5 up invulnerable save, they do have a 6 up shrug, they do have minus 1 damage, they do have 9 wounds. They're pretty horrific for Sanguinary Guard to try and... They got a 2 up save as well, right? Yeah. Okay. Minus 1 damage, Dreadnoughts are nightmare for Sanguinary Guard. I'm not going to run Null Zone. I'm not going to tailor my list. I'm trying to build a Take All Corners tournament list, so we're not tailoring the list. I know Null Zone is really good against Custodes, but no, I'm not going to take it. Oh yeah, they can use their Dread Spear in combat for D3 plus 3 at minus 3 damage. So if you do not kill them, I've had that before where you run into them and you don't kill them, you leave them on 1 wound. They hit you on 2s, they wound you on 2s or 3s, and they're fucking horrific. They kill anything that they're in combat with. Yeah. Alright, so they do have a melee weapon, I didn't remember that. And then he's got 2 giant squads of the bikes. Of course he's got giant squads of the bikes, because they are probably the overpowered thing right now, and Andrew loves to run the overpowered thing. I believe he said they went up to 5 wounds now, the bikes. The bikes did lose OBSEC, so there's that, but I believe their salvo launchers went to D3 plus 3. So, I mean, when I beat him before, I think I null zoned like a squad of the bikes and then just chewed them up with the Sanguinary Guard. I guess the bikes aren't minus 1 damage, so 3 fails against the Sanguinary Guard is going to kill the bikes, and that's 1,000 points of his lists. I also think the bikes no longer have the ability to charge you in his turn, because they used to have this stooping dive shit where it was like they could pay 3 CP at the end of the opponent's charge phase, they could charge. So I don't think they have the ability to do that anymore. So it'll be like kite the bikes until I'm ready to overwhelm them and kill them. Probably try and kill the Contemptors, or at least whittle them down with some firepower. That will be difficult. The only thing that I've got against them is like I outrange those Contemptors, right? Like, is that all they've got? 18-inch range? I don't know what the range on the new Contemptor Achilles is, but if it is 18-inch range, then I guess I'll just try and stay out of range of them as much as I can, and then his shield captain and Trajan Valoris will be horrific to deal with in combat. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, you need multiple combat units into the bikes. Yeah, you need to overkill everything in this list. That's how you beat Custodes, is you overkill stuff. So yeah, tune in tomorrow 7:30. We'll be live as normal, and I am going to use the new Blood Angels points cost. I do have the spear has a 24-inch range, so watch out for that. The spear on what? Sorry, has a 24-inch range. Oh, can the spear shoot as well? Can it? Oh, right, yeah, okay, yeah. The spear has heavy strength 8. Those dreadnoughts get a lot of firepower, actually. You know that? For 160 points. Did they go down in points cost as well? Yeah, I think the way to win is you kill the bikes. Because Andrew's not the most tactical player. He'll probably put the bikes forward quite aggressively. So if I can zero in and take those bikes out, then I can probably win just by holding most of the board and doing it that way. But I believe the rules are really strong now, so I guess we'll see tomorrow night. Thanks so much for watching tonight, guys. I hope you enjoyed the stream. Thank you for the submissions to the show as well, because there wouldn't be a show if you guys didn't hang out here and submit army lists. So that's, as always, very appreciated. I'll catch you guys tomorrow night, 7:30. And I think what we'll do for this week's tactics video is we're going to look back at the tier lists. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the changes that are coming chapter approved. So that will be coming as well this week. And yeah, any feedback on that list, if you want to feedback on anything else I need to look out for against Custodes, would be appreciated too. It's been a little while since we played Custodes on the channel. Actually, probably like a year. So I was actually amazed that the first ever game that we did against Ultramarines was last week, and it was really nice to give the Ultramarines a smashing, and maybe we'll be able to smash Custodes. I think Yeah, the last time I played Andrew as well as I lost because he added those extra damage to his guns. So, DTM, you better be there tomorrow night and make sure that he isn't adding any damage to any of his Custodes guns. You know what he's like. But yeah, thanks again for watching, guys. Have a great evening. I will see you. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.